Oriental Art Miscellaneous View 1. Until now, most of the criticism about art have been in the hands of scholars, and also they are scholarly and deep. There are many points that the general public does not need, so I can read it to the end. Often not. I was generally interested in it, and I thought it would be good if I could get a general appreciation eye. So I hope it will be a reference for those who are about to enter the art gate. Regarding art, let's first look at the current situation between Japan and foreign countries. Even though foreign countries have facilities that are typical of museums today, there are only two countries, the United States and the United Kingdom. Let's try. Both of them are in agreement that they focus on Oriental art, but most of the Oriental art is Chinese art, and the other is ceramics, copperware, and modern paintings. First of all, in the United Kingdom, the world-famous Humor Hopeless, and David are probably the two collectors in this country. Mr. Hopeless' collection have been decorating the British Museum for quite some time, and the amount was large, but it was a pity that he gave up, perhaps because of economic relations after World War I. Of course, most of them went to the United States, but strangely, a few came to Japan and are still owned by a certain man. For this reason, it has decreased slightly, but it still seems to be considerable. The next, Mr. David, seems to have not opened the museum yet, but Mr. Hopeless seems to have many old ones from the Tan and Song era, while Mr. David seems to have many modern ones after the Ming Dynasty. Then, Mr. Hopeless has a considerable number of excellent copperware from around the Lap to the Han and Song Dynasty. And there are many paintings, but there are only a few in the Song Dynasty, and Kanchi after the Ming Dynasty. Most of them are around Kenryu. Mr. David seems to have few copperware and paintings in the catalog. However, in the UK, United Kingdom, there are some individuals who have a considerable amount of money, and what I thought was unusual was that a certain woman loved Japanese people who had some. For that reason, it is true that there is not much Japanese art in the country, and in exchange, the United States is truly a country of wealth, and there are many fine museums and a wide variety of goods. First of all, there are big and small cities in each city, including big cities such as Washington, Boston, New York, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. One of the smaller but most striking is the Fleer Gallery, a private museum that is world famous. There is a wonderful piece of copperware here, and I have seen it in the catalog. However, after all, it is said that Japanese art is especially abundant at the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston in the country. After all, in the Meiji era, Mr. Tenshin Okakura became an advisor to the museum and collected quite good things. And later, Mr. Kojiro Tomita bought another excellent piece of Japanese art, so it should be known. I've seen a lot of pictures of folding screens in the Washington Museum a few years ago. Most of them were calling and sawdust, but I was stunned to see that they were all forgery, as you can see in the photo. For that reason, there are few Japanese antiquities overseas than I expected, and it is said that only prints are superior to those in Japan. And there are many, especially the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, is famous for prints. Other than that, there are some in France and Germany, but it is said that there are only a lot of scholarly works in Germany. Then I think about why there are so many prints in foreign countries. When they came to Japan after the Meiji era, the first thing they noticed was prints, which were cheap and affordable. So they bought them back as souvenirs, which gave me a position like today. Probably the cause. However, I don't like prints so much. So I've only collected handwritten prints for a long time. So I got a good one at a relatively low price. This is because prints were loved by foreigners, and Japanese people who like to imitate them valued prints and rejected handwritten ones. Moreover, when the foreigners first arrived, the Japanese had carefully stored their handwriting, so it may be because they did not touch the eyes of the foreigners. But this point was also fortunate. Next, the art unique to Japan is lacquer, like Nikuhitsu Ukiyo-e. I didn't have a chance to touch the eyes of foreigners, so I couldn't get it. I'll explain a little about the lacquer work below. But of course, this technique was devised by taking inspiration from the old Chinese paintings. But in Japan, a considerable amount has already been made in the Nara dynasty. It is not surprising that the kyobako of the Tenpyo era, which remains today, is a finely honed lacquer work. After that, it progressed gradually from the Heian period, and by the Kamakura period, excellent flags were made, epoch-making. So there are still quite a few masterpieces of that time, which are pleasing to our eyes. Next, from the Momoyama period to the Tokugawa period, we saw more and more improvements in technology, and since lacquer work was the most suitable as a daimyo tool, we competed with each daimyo to make good ones. Today, most of the golden lacquer work, such as the golden lacquer work, was made during the heyday of the Tokugawa clan. And the varieties are bookshelves, papers, ink stones, and writing stands. The main items are ink stones, handbags, and intense tools. Note: Fleer Gallery, the Oriental Museum of the Smithsonian National Museum today. In 1996, United States entrepreneur Charles Lang Fleer bequeathed his collection to the U.S. government.